have Anthony and Zoe from Dark Matter. Big round of applause. Right, guys, just grab a seat. 2 mics there.
Oh, yeah, it's on. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
Anthony's moving as far
I'm
away.
doing well.
Could you get any further? Do you
Yep.
wanna, yeah, you go.
I'm all right.
There
It's
you are. Yeah, just hop over there.
now that the show's over, I don't have to pretend I like Zoe Palmer, so
Yeah, that's right.
forget about it. I'm sitting over here.
Oh, she's lovely.
I know
Yeah,
she is.
yeah.
You should meet her. She's
Sure.
That is so horrible.
By the way,
Yeah.
it's Zoe Palmer's birthday
Oh, really?
today.
It's funny you mention that, actually, because we actually have a little present for you.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, they knew.
We
Can't believe you
knew.
said that.
So, I hope you like lots of chocolate and cakes and everything like that.
I'm allergic.
It actually says happy birthday. This just wasn't a BS thing. This
No,
was real.
We actually have a little present for you, so we
Thank you
got
very
that
much.
from
That's very
Custom Cakes
kind of
across
you.
there. So
Very
Look
nice.
at that. Look at
I
that.
think we need to sing happy birthday,
Oh,
don't
I
you?
think so too. Wait, but hang on 1 second. You should give me your phone.
Should I?
Yeah, you should give me your phone. Unlock your phone, and I will record this.
Do you have to unlock it to record?
Live interviews, ladies and gentlemen. Gotta love them.
Yeah. Here goes.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
We're gonna sing happy birthday, okay? I'm not, 'cause I'm terrible.
No, you
Okay.
are.
Uh,
You're gonna
I'll
listen.
mu-
You've
I'll mute the
started
mic.
this.
I'll start this. I'll finish it.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Zoe. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Let's have a huge round of applause.
Thank you so much. You know what's cool about this? Is that I was born in England. So to have my birthday in England is amazing.
Yeah, is it Cambridge? Is Cambridge?
I was born in Wiltshire and then grew up in Cornwall, England. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, you can stop filming now.
I think he's having fun there.
Yeah.
Again, round of applause
Thank
for the
you,
birthday
guys. Thank
girl.
you,
Come
thank
on.
you, thank you very much. Very appreciated.
Well, he spoiled a surprise. We had a little lead into that, but you know what? We'll go with how it goes there. But
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. So,
Yeah.
I thought we'd take the opportunity to get to know you guys a little bit better.
All right.
And we'll see how much similar sort of tastes you have. So we'd like to play a game of getting to know you.
All right, let's do this.
And you're only allowed to choose one answer.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, for example, the first one is coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Oh, so far, so good. Okay. Books or movies?
Ooh.
Oh. I have to choose only one?
Yes, only one.
Books.
Books. Yeah.
Oh, so far in sync. This is good.
Yeah.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Night owl.
You have a 3-year-old. I mean,
It doesn't really matter.
you're up all the time.
When she goes
Both.
to bed, that's it. That's when
Totally.
things start.
No, but really like early in the morning when the city hasn't awakened yet.
Yeah,
and
you're just old.
I mean, it's
Yeah, that's just old answer.
that's yeah. What? Eh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Go
But
on.
that's what kids' TV's for in the morning. You just get up, you watch kids' TV.
Yeah.
You've got Rugrats and all stuff.
Yeah,
Are
I just
Rugrats
push
still
her
on?
in front of it with my leg. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Introvert or extrovert?
Oh, introvert.
Extrovert.
Okay. Should we try a tough one?
Uh-oh.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
I've never seen either one of them.
You have to answer one of them. Play the game.
How not?
Haven't.
Okay, we'll let you off.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Okay. We'll go for that.
Yeah, Star Wars. Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
You would have got a bigger one if you'd said Star Trek.
Star Trek, I meant. Sorry, it's just so.
Do you notice the silence when you said Star Trek? Do we have any Trekkers here, by the way?
Aren't you
Yeah.
all that? Isn't that where we are?
Yeah. I think, is everyone enjoying the new series?
Is somebody not?
Ice cream or, and I always try to say the American here, yogurt.
Oh, ice cream.
Yogurt.
Really?
Not
Oh,
frozen yogurt though, but like yogurt.
Over ice cream?
Over ice cream.
Yeah.
What
see?
is the difference between yogurt and frozen yogurt? Do we have frozen yogurt in the UK? Yeah.
Yeah, frozen yogurt's like the, I don't want to eat the real yogurt because it's too sour, so I put a lot of sugar in it and make it taste like ice cream. That's what frozen yogurt is.
It works. Should we
Yeah,
try?
yeah.
Should we try a tough one here? Well, I think it's tough.
Yeah, go on.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
I can't say dogs. Only because I have a cat and 2 dogs. But my cat has a Twitter account with like 10,000 followers.
And what is this Twitter account?
Clover Blob.
Right, so we need to follow that and watch
And-
the cat.
and she'll be really upset if I say dog. So cat.
I was not expecting
Yeah,
that.
that's the truth. That's all real.
She might be upset anyway because you essentially wanted to say dog.
I kind of am a dog person, but
Yeah. So now she's heard.
she's the only cat though
Yeah.
for me. Like other cats, I don't want anything to do with.
If anybody who hasn't followed this Twitter account, you should. It is
Dirty.
that. And acerbic and wry and witty.
And dirty.
Her cat is smarter than me.
Well, it is a cat. Everyone loves I'm a
Yeah,
cat
fair
person.
enough.
I'm
Are you?
a cat. I love cats.
Okay.
I was also scared to death of dogs, so I'd actually run screaming like a little girl if I saw a dog.
Like a girl.
Like a girl.
I think you mean you would run screaming like a boy, running and screaming.
Yeah, probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
you just stepped in that one.
I did.
Uh-oh.
I did.
You're welcome, ladies.
Next question, quick. Okay, quick. Marvel or DC?
Boo, Marvel.
Marvel.
Well done.
No idea.
It's hard, though, because we're sitting right next to this, you know?
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
kind of
right.
feel like we're betraying
yeah.
it.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe it's one of those I like both questions, isn't it? I love both.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't send them here, did they?
I hope not. He's massive.
That's
know.
right. They're
I
huge.
don't know.
All right, continue on.
Okay, well, I'll ask this one question, seeing I've said Marvel. If you could be a Marvel superhero in a Marvel superhero movie, what would it be?
I'd be all of them. Forget about it. I'd be the new one.
No
The
fancy
guy who
being
had all the
Spider-Man?
superpowers. What?
No fancy being Spider-Man, then?
Spider-Man.
I don't like. I've never liked
Oh,
Spider-Man.
I love Spider-Man. Because of the spiders.
Yeah. Bit like Star Wars with all the stars. that
Does
you
he
see.
does he turn into one sometimes?
In the comic books, he does a bit, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I like about him. That thing.
Yeah. Well, let's...
But without a doubt, I'd be Iron Man if I could be any superhero at all, period. Like, I would be Iron Man, bar none.
Really?
Forget about every universe, every world. It's like, don't contain it within one world.
What can Iron Man, like, is he really
he's
strong?
a rich philanthropist.
Oh, yeah. That's nice.
So
Yeah, and he doesn't have any superpowers. That's the cool thing about
He
him.
doesn't have any?
No,
it's all a suit, all a metallic
Yeah.
suit.
that's it.
And underneath
I
it,
guess
is he wearing
Batman's
anything?
sort of the same, yeah? Really?
Probably clothes, but
Right.
that's about
He's
it.
just
yeah.
not naked after that.
I wonder... Oh, actually, I don't even go in that. Is Iron Man naked under the suit?
Yeah, is he?
It would chafe. It's a metal suit.
Just
I don't-
Vaseline, just covered in Vaseline under there.
Maybe that's why he's called Tony Stark.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's just in there sliding around.
I'm
that
so
was a
sorry,
good one. That was
was
a good
bad.
one.
Okay, let's talk about what we do want to talk about. Dark matter.
Right.
Yeah. So, as we know, unfortunately, it was just cancelled recently.
Yeah.
Which is an absolute shame. But what was the how did it feel when that was announced? Because I know there's a bit of controversy behind it all and everything like that. How did you feel?
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's sad, I think, when any show ends, however it ends. You know, I mean, they all ultimately get canceled. They stop being renewed at some point, right? And it's just the when that becomes sort of... And I don't know, in this industry, I've been on so many different series now, and I don't know, I've kind of become accustomed to that, you know, things start and end and you move on to the next thing. So... Yes, sad in that we've all grown to be very fond of each other, and the show is great, and Joe created an extraordinary world and characters that we won't get to see anymore. But you know, I'm okay. I'm okay with that ultimately.
They're dragging me kicking and screaming
Yeah.
into the reality.
Anthony, on the
actually.
other hand,
I'm
can't
totally
let
the
it
opposite.
go.
There's a reason she played the robot, okay? Have an emotion, for God's sake, Zoe Palmer.
I was an android.
No, I was, I think, was surprised for sure, and sad. That simple. Surprised and sad. I mean, yeah, listen, it's true. What Zoe says is, you don't go into this industry without realizing that shows get canceled, and you know, life goes on, and you'll find another job, and the mortgage will get paid, and there'll be food on the table. It's not so much about that. It's about, for me, I love the character. I love the world. I loved what Dark Matter evolved into, a show about second chances and family and folks who, you know, kind of had a really tough time doing the right thing, but in the end never stopped trying. And I don't know, it kind of just feels like the kind of show that's important, you know, to contextualize life, where it's not always clear what the hell the right thing to do is, and you're just trying to muddling your way through, you know, and that's what we were doing. And that show meant a lot to me that way. So I hope that whatever comes next for Dark Matter, you know, for the universe. I know Joe wants to finish those stories.
Yeah, he does.
So
he really does.
Because it ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
There as well.
Well, I think he's still hopeful that there may be a miniseries of some sort, and then barring that, I think he plans on finishing it through comics, in the way that it began.
Yeah. Now, I was kind of rate a success of a show by its fans.
Yeah.
And as soon as Dark Matter was announced to be cancelled, there were fan campaigns everywhere. And on the site I help out with, we had a huge article. This is how you can support. This is how you send letters and everything like that. What was it like knowing you had such a strong fan base fighting your corner, and to be honest, still fighting your corner right now?
Oh, I mean, you can't really explain that. I mean, the fan base on any show is what makes the show, as far as I'm concerned. And I always think of fans, I've said this before, but I think of fans as another character almost in the world of the show, because they are the heartbeat. And so to know that people are fighting like that and have such passion for the show and the characters is, you know, it's really touching, really touching.
All of that, and also kind of surprising, I'll be honest with you. I don't think, you know, social media, we were not as active on social media. It wasn't as pre-planned a strategy as it is on some other shows. And so when the show was canceled and all of a sudden, wham, this sort of surge of social media attention happens, of people expressing what the show meant to them, it was meaningful. It was like, in a way, it was like a period of mourning for us all, right? Where it was a bit sudden, and we're like, oh my God, this thing has ended. That, you know, it's career. It's not like real mourning, but yeah, for sure, it's something that meant a lot to me and to a lot of us, and to sort of get together and say, hey, you know, this is an expression of what the show meant, was touching and powerful and meaningful, and a really beautiful time in my life.
Yeah. Now, a lot of sci-fi shows really struggle for some reason. Like, you've had Firefly, and some of the Star Treks weren't that successful. But there's a big love for sci-fi, but it doesn't seem to kind of continue. It seems TV networks seem to struggle. Was it a choice that you've always wanted to do a sci-fi show? Would you continue doing another sci-fi show in the future? Or what are your plans for the future now?
It's my favorite genre to act in, without a doubt. And this show is a good example of that. If you can get on a show where, you know, it doesn't take itself too seriously, where there's the serious sci-fi, and then there's the sci-fi that Dark Matter was, which was, you know, was sort of walking that line between a bit campy and serious, and that is my favorite place to play, because you can play literally almost anything. They can write any script, and you're like, oh, great, now we're singing this episode, or, oh, you know, like, that's why you get into this industry, because it's fun to play. And if you're playing the same beat over and over and over because it's a serious show, then that's cool, and that's a different kind of thing. But for me, I would love to get on another show that had this tone. Zoe?
I don't know. I've never thought about picking shows for in a genre way. Like, I don't think of it that way. So, and I had never done any sci-fi up until I did a show called Lost Girl, and then right into and then right into Dark Matter. And so I ended up doing 2 sci-fis back to back, which was a surprise to me. I didn't expect that. So, yeah, I would absolutely do another sci-fi. But it's more about, I mean, what I loved about both of those shows was not their genre, but what they brought to the table. I mean, the characters, the people, the storylines, the humanity, the craziness, the comedy, like all of those things are what got me kind of excited to perform in them. Where they were set or the genre, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily matter to me that much.
Just whatever appeals to you and kind of gets that emotion.
Because I think any good show, how can I word this? It's sort of bigger than its genre, right? It becomes about something else. You can have a terrible show in any genre. You can have a great show in any genre.
Yeah.
So I think a good show with interesting characters, if that's what it is, I don't care what world we're in. I'm in. Sign me up.
Now, before we move on to fan questions, so start thinking about, we're going to have Marcus coming around in a second, asking you questions. obviously your characters had no memory of what they previously were. Say you come into Comic-Con tomorrow and your memory's wiped, what would you actually want to do? It's a tough one.
Run.
I know. Can you
Run
imagine
really far away.
landing
My
here
memory's
with
been
no?
wiped. I'd be like, oh my God, there's people dressed
Like
in, that person over there's got wings on their head. You know, that kind of thing. I think that would be really crazy, right? Wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd be terrified.
Like, oh, what's going on?
Do you still think you would choose an acting career? Is it right that you are going to go into law? Is that correct? Yeah. But then you chose acting.
I was already an actor first, and I'd already done a bunch of stuff like RoboCop and Queen of Swords and whatever. And then I'd always wanted to go to law school, so I went to law school. And then after that, I worked at a firm for the last couple of years there in law school, and then my first daughter was born, and that's when I decided, no, I don't want her to know me as just a lawyer. And no offense to lawyers out there, it's a great career, but I was lucky. I could do something that relatively few people get a chance to do and make a living at, and I felt like that was important for her to see that, you know, you can follow your dreams, that you can do things that maybe other people think are a little ridiculous, and then so if she has a dream, whatever that dream is, you know,
You'll crush it.
I'll crush it.
Yeah.
That's right. She could just look at her dad and say, "Oh, my dad was an actor. That's kind of improbable. So maybe I can do this too." And that was sort of one of the reasons I thought, "Yeah, I'll go back to it." And it's fun as hell. So,
yeah. Well, you're kind of saying to your daughter, in a sense, just go for it. Go for what you enjoy, and
it's kind of it, right? I mean, and law was great, but it wasn't. It's not the same kind of thing. It's a very different kind of career. So,
To say the least.
to say the least.
do you think you'd make the same choices as well? Do you think you'd still go into acting, or is there any sort of job you'd want to do with her?
No, I wanted to be an actor from the minute I could speak. Yeah, I was a little. I was very young when I decided I wanted to do this. I had no idea how. I have no other actors in my family, and I don't even have anybody even remotely related to the industry in my family. So I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I knew I wanted to. Yeah.
And now you have. Oh,
so far, so good.
Destiny.
Yeah.
Right, I believe we have some fan questions now. I'm just looking for Marcus with the microphone. Marcus? Oh, 2 seconds, we've got the mic there.
Hello.
Oh,
There you go.
Thank you so much for coming to London. Loved the series. One of my all-time favourite scenes is from Series 3. I think it's called All the Time in the World, where you have to teach Anthony French, and you're in the canteen with a little ukulele.
Yeah, our ukulele song.
Do you have a favourite scene from the series?
Well, I loved that episode, and it was a great episode. You had, I think, had
so much
yeah,
fun that episode.
Yeah, and I don't speak French, and Anthony does speak French, so I was teaching him French in the episode, which was ridiculous because I don't speak any of it. But
it was a lot of fun, that episode. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I was talking about, where that episode can't exist in every genre, right? That you can't do a cop show and then all of a sudden you're doing All the Time in the World, that episode. And that's what I was talking about before.
I disagree.
Whoa, there we go. Favorite scene? Do you have a favorite scene?
In the whole series?
In the whole series.
I mean, I have a few. I whenever the android would get the upgrade, it was always great. The episode where I played the southern sort of whatever she was, prostitute, I think. No idea. But I'm pretty sure that's
Belle,
what she did.
the Southern Belle.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Belle. Yeah, they were all. I had lots of favorite scenes. Do you have a favorite one scene?
Yeah, I probably do, actually. It's probably from season 1.
Was it with me? That's probably with me. Was it me?
Every scene with you is my favorite, but notwithstanding those.
Yeah.
Second to those.
Right.
It was probably the scene where Jodelle.
That's weird. That's not me. That's Jodelle.
I know, it's weird that I actually liked a scene that without you in it.
Yeah. Okay.
I know.
Well, go on, I guess.
The scene where Jodelle goes back into what we find out only later in season 2 is actually Titch's, my memory.
Oh,
but
right.
we all think it's one's memory. And she goes to live this life with this idyllic family, and it's wonderful, and she doesn't want to leave. And 6 goes back into the memories to try and draw her out. And she's like, why the hell would I want to go back to my really crappy life where I have no parents and I'm with a bunch of mercenary killers on a ship? I'm staying here. And if you have a chance to watch that scene again, it's such a beautiful statement about reality. And even though your reality may be shitty, it's still you have agency and still can change your reality. And I remember when that scene was being shot, we were actually shooting another scene with Sarah. And I would literally the second they would say cut, I'd run over to the other set and I'd watch the scene. And it was just beautiful. And it's everything that I loved about that show. The fact that there were those moments in the show where Joe gave the actors these beautiful, sort of hopeful, sensitive scenes to play. And that's definitely remains my favorite scene in the entire film.
Sweet.
Yeah, shut up.
I like the prostitute one.
Right, now, I spoke to the lady earlier. She came across. She was very excited about the fact that Dark Matter was coming up, so I'm going to run across.
All right.
I'm going to sit next to you, actually, because I'm lazy. Right, you have a question, I believe, as well.
Yes, I have. In season 3, where you're stuck in the time loop, there is a moment where you go back in the 5 seconds in time and you go through the different periods of what's going to happen in Android's life. And there's one bit where they mention about the Android revolution, and
Yeah.
obviously Victor, I think, would have been a part of that. Would Android actually have been a part of the Android revolution?
I know, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I think Android was very, very loyal, I think, to the crew of that ship. I think it would have been a very difficult decision for her, you know, because she would have been caught between two loves. I do think that she loved Victor in whatever way she could, and I absolutely believe that she loved her crew. And I think that would have been a really tough decision for her. So I don't know the answer. And I think season 4, had we gone, was to explore that sort of revolution. And I think we would have learned the answer to that question, but I don't know. Yeah.
What I found interesting about that dynamic was that the Android revolution is based essentially upon these androids with an upgrade, right? And you had a really hesitant relationship with the upgrade, and
Yeah.
you were becoming your own entity, like a third kind of thing. You're neither human nor android with the upgrade. You were becoming this different thing that was... I could see Joe using that to say, no, hang on a second. You guys you're faking being human. You're not the real android. What you're going through right now is a chip, but what I am is something different. And I don't know, I always thought there was something in that difference, that you were so hesitant to do that.
What was different about the android before she would use the upgrade is that there was all of these little moments where she would have what looked like feelings.
Yeah.
And with what looked like
Yeah.
a conscience, and which was unique.
Yep.
In that android.
Yep.
So even without the upgrade, there seemed to be some sense of self and some sense of, you know.
Yeah. Not like the rest of those androids with their little
Yeah.
chip fake emotion things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Losers.
Do we have any more fan questions? Oh, I'll jump right at the front here. Now come the gentleman at the back there.
So, hi, thanks so much for coming to London.
Oh,
We're
pleasure.
Really, really excited. You mentioned that the android was quite a difficult character to act.
Sure.
Is there anything that was particular, like what was the hardest thing about either having to act that part or something particularly difficult in any of the series that you found?
Well, Anthony and I were just talking about this the other night, and I think the thing that was the hardest for me was that I never played her without emotion. I played her with repressed emotion. So what that meant was I was constantly having to push I would always imagine how she would react if she could react. And then I would push that down. So it was always under there. So it was like a boiling pot all the time. So to play that all day, every day, for 3 years, to constantly, I mean, I think anyone can relate to having a feeling and not being able to express it. And I played her like that to the best of my ability. And that became quite exhausting to kind of keep having to push that down. Yeah.
Okay, our next question just down the center here.
Hi, I love the show, but my question isn't specifically about Dark Matter. It seems that Canadian productions
You want to
have
talk
become-
about Killjoys?
for example. No, no, I don't actually. But it seems that Canadian productions have become increasingly popular internationally in the last few years in a similar way to how Scandinavian dramas have become very popular over here. Do you have any idea why that might be? What's the secret Canadian ingredients? Maple syrup or?
Yeah, yeah.
In every one of our productions, maple
Beavers.
syrup. Yep.
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, you know, I think generally shows are more internationally successful now than they've ever been with the internet and with Netflix, and we have you guys have access to shows that you didn't necessarily have before. We all do. You know, I'm watching an Australian show called Offspring right now that I never would have known existed, except that it's on Netflix. So I think part of it is literally the exposure that we all get to shows now, and I think certainly Canadian television is more and more competitive every year. You know, we're just making more interesting television, and we're a young country, so I think it's, you know, just time probably.
I think there's also an element of, gosh, were we going to talk about like economic and production clusters?
No, don't talk about
we're
that.
We're going to talk about that. I think we are. I mean, I think there's a certain amount of it that started off that, like, you know, Canada was cheap, right? And sci-fi. There's a lot of sci-fi out there. I mean, look at Doctor Who, where it's not about necessarily the production values. It's about the story. It's about exploring possibilities that could exist, and the audience goes with you, despite the fact that the robot looks like a garbage can with some, you know, dryer venting around the side. Like, it's.
I don't know if
My point is.
Right. Go on.
My point is, I think that in the beginning, it's that, you know, Canada attracted productions because we were cheap, and then of course, that was many years ago. And what happens is people develop skills, a production cluster exists. They're like, oh, that show went pretty well there. They bring another one, they bring another one, they bring another one. And I mean, it's astounding the number of sci-fi shows that shoot in Canada, whether they're made in Canada completely, like Dark Matter was, or like Winona Earp, or like Lost Girl, or whether they're more service productions, things, well, Killjoys is sort of halfway, but things like The Strain, things like Arrow. I mean, it's astounding the number of shows. So I think there's something going on that's beyond just international exposure. I think there's an expertise that Canadians have developed in the particular set of skills that seem to be required to make a sci-fi show. And we sound American. I think that's it too. They're like, we can hire those day players. They sound American.
Now, the final question before we let you move on, seeing you've mentioned it, would you ever be tempted to come to the UK and film in Doctor Who and have a part in that?
No, that would be the worst.
Horrible. Never. No, totally wouldn't want to do it. No, I'm kidding around.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Is there someone out here who can make that happen? Anybody?
Well, we have David Bradley later, who's playing the first Doctor, so we'll try and introduce you there.
Awesome.
So that's him just there. So we'll try and introduce you, and we'll see if we can
He played who?
He plays the first Doctor.
Ever?
Well, he's playing an old part new, if that makes sense.
Oh, I see. Like he's doing it now as though he was then.
Yes.
Right. Sneaky.
That's time travel for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Is that what
that's
that's
sci-fi
about?
for you.
It's pretty much that, yeah. So it's going to be good. But we'd love to see you on that as well. You need to come do some more UK-based shows so we can see them. Come on, guys.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So can find you just behind the stage here at your booths doing autographs and photographs. So guys, make sure you check that out. But I think we need a huge round of applause, and especially for Zoe, whose birthday it is as well.
Thanks,
Yes,
guys.
indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
But thank you very much,
Thank
Anthony
you.
and Zoe.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.